Welcome back for week 6 of the GBA. This week we are taking on Lars, aka Scizor, aka Mustache Man, and his Borussia Donphan. We're going to lead with our Mienshao against Walnut, the Tapu Fini. Recompense will be going for U-turn on the very first turn, and switching into Ruin, our Celebi was going to unfortunately catch a knockoff, and we are going to lose one of our 2 choice scarfs, which is going to be very crucial for later on in the game. May or may not affect the outcome. As you can see right here, we're not going to take too much from the knockoff, but we still do lose the item, which is very unfortunate. As Walnut is going to heal a little bit of its health, it's not going to want to stay in here. He's going to switch into Mozilla, Firefox, not as good as Chrome, as we are going to go for U-turn. In this turn, we are going to bring in Bane, or Baudon. We're going to get up the Sandstorm, be able to chip away at both this Delphox and whatever else Lars wants to bring in, which in this case is going to be the Tapu Fini once again. Walnut is going to switch back in and take an Earthquake. Stealth Rocks were an option there, but weakening the Tapu Fini is also quite important for the late game plan, as we do have a Scarfed Mienshao, as you saw. So we're going to cancel out the Leftovers recovery thanks to the Sandstorm, and then Bane is going to make a quick exit. We're going to switch back into Ruin, and we are going to take a pretty strong Moonblast. Fortunately, no critical hit, no special attack drop on this turn, so we're going to be able to click Giga Drain quite freely. As Walnut is still sitting at the same amount of health as it was before. And we are, of course, going to go for the Giga Drain on the incoming Mozilla, as it's going to take not too much from the Giga Drain. As we're sitting at about 45%, 40-ish. Mozilla is going to take another round of Sandstorm, so is Ruin. As we're going to switch out and right back into Bane, be able to soak up the hit. As Mozilla is going to get up a Wish, and with no way to knock out the Tapu Fini switching in, even with a critical hit, the best play here is to, of course, go for Stealth Rocks, get them up, and make sure things like the Kyurem Black can't come in for free later on in the game. Of course, Tapu Fini could be a defogger, but this is still the correct play to force the defog. So the rocks are going up, and Walnut is buffeted by the Sandstorm. Of course, this doesn't matter, as it catches a Wish from Mozilla. Now, if the rocks do stay up, Mozilla comes in lower, Kyurem comes in lower. We're going to take a knockoff from the Tapu Fini, from Walnut, and we're going to get off some Earthquake damage, putting Walnut back to about where it was before it caught the Wish. And that's where it's going to stay. Now on this turn, we predict Walnut to go for a Water type attack. Considering this is a Ground type, we're going to switch in Ruin, and we are going to be able to soak up a Scald. Fortunately, no burn. Of course, we do have Natural Cure, so should it have burned, we would have been able to switch out and get rid of the burn. But no Sandstorm, plus no burn, plus no critical hit, means that we are still healthy enough to stay in here and just go in for a Giga Drain. Jeff, my name Jeff, is going to come out, being the Kyurem Black, as Giga Drain is going to do 25% here with a critical hit, and we're going to be able to heal up a little bit. And now we can start spamming Psychic, trying to get to the death drops, trying to keep this Kyurem relatively low. As we are going to go for Psychic for a couple of turns, and then we're going to make a quick exit on the Kyurem Black, which is of course always a threat to Ruin our Celebi. So we're going to go for another Psychic. We do not get any special defense drops, but that's okay, as Jeff is going to get back up to nearly full. And on this turn, we are going to make a switch into our main Xiao recompense to scare out the Kira Black. Jeff does not want to stay in against a high jump kicking Mean Xiao. As we are going to see another roost. Lars prioritizes the health on his Kira more than anything else, rather than the kill, as we are going to go for the U-turn on his switch into Walnut. And this time, instead of going into Ruin, we're going to U-turn into a different member to see if we can knock out Walnut, despite it being at about 50%. We're going to go into Retribution, our Scizor. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to find the answer to the age-old question: can a weasel crack a walnut? And the answer is no, as we are going to die to a critical hit Moonblast. I do not believe it mattered, as Retribution is unfortunately down. This is a Pokemon that could have put in a lot of work in the late game, so very sad to see it go down. As Ruin's going to come back in here, and we try to make a prediction of switch into Mozilla, being that it's still healthy enough to do wish shenanigans. But Jeff is going to come in on the Earth Power. Had we clicked Psychic on that turn, of course, this would have been a 2-hit KO, as you'll see from the Earth Power into the next Psychic damage. But we did not, as we wanted to cover the Firefox. So we're going to keep spamming Psychic. Once again, back to this dance of Roost versus Psychic. So here on this turn, we're going to click Psychic again, trying to get a special defense drop. However, this should have been the turn where we would have switched out. As you're going to see on the following turn, once the Kyurem is healthy enough, Lars decides to attack, finally, with this monster, and go for a Shadow Claw on the turn that we unfortunately U-turn into Dirge, our Mega Gardevoir, who is still in regular, of course, and take a Shadow Claw. We do live on 5, and we are going to be able to fire off a Hyper Voice on this following turn and get a KO on Walnut. However, the Kyurem Black, Jeff, is still alive, and now our Dirge is extremely weakened, and it is also outsped by a few members on his team, including Mozilla Firefox, which will be able to come in and revenge kill us. However, keeping a special attacker might have been a better idea, as you'll see later in the game. Walnut is going down, and Mozilla is coming in, as I said. And we will die to a Psychic. Whatever move Lars would have chosen would have knocked us out, unless he had Hidden Power Fighting. I assume that would have knocked us out. And then we're going to go into Recompense. Once again, our Scarf Mean Xiao and be able to knock out Mozilla, but Mozilla, of course, did do its job. It was able to knock out our final special attacker with any kind of power behind it. You are going to understand very soon why that's important. As we're going to go into Bane, and what this is going to allow is for Lars's wife to enter, Miss Scyther. And now we find out that Miss Scyther is actually a superpower set to boost its attack and its defense. As I mentioned earlier, we only have Ruin left as a special attacker, meaning that if this thing gets too many boosts, we will not be able to drop it. So we're going to take Sandstorm damage, which is going to allow him to knock us out with the following superpower, leaving him at a +2/+2 in his attack and his defense. Psychic is going to do roughly about 35%, leaving him at half, and Superpower is of course going to knock us out. Luckily the Sandstorm is up, so any kind of recovery through Synthesis that Lurantis would want to go for is neutralized. or at least weakened. However, being that we only have Recompense, Bane, and Irreverent left, we will not be able to break through this without a critical hit, as all of those are physical attackers. We're going to click High Jump Kick. Do we get the critical hit? We do not. And Miss Scyther is going to go for the Synthesis to be able to stay healthy against both Recompense and Irreverent, the two only threats to it at the moment. And we are going to make the swap on this following turn. Probably should have stayed in, considering there was no way to break through Lurantis, whether it be with Recompense or with Irreverent. But we do catch the Lurantis going for a Synthesis, so a crit Poison Jab would do the same as a crit High Jump Kick, which is ensure the kill. That is what we're trying to do. So we are going to click Poison Jab on this turn with Irreverent. And we do get a Poison, but we do not get a critical hit. So Miss Scyther is of course going to be weakened slightly. But Superpower is going to be able to knock us out, and now we are sitting in front of a +3 Lurantis with solely a Mean Shao and a Hippowdon left to deal with this. And so, after the poison damage, we still need a critical hit from Recompense, so we're going to send it in and click High Jump Kick again, as we are not going to get the crit. And Miss Scyther is going to heal up with Synthesis, bringing it up to about 60% after the poison damage and the leftovers. And we're going to now switch out again, as we still do not want to keep trying to High Jump Kick the Lurantis, even though that is the game plan in the end. We do need to win with High Jump Kick. As you're going to see, Bane comes in, gets up the Sandstream. And the Synthesis is going to come out once again, healing Lurantis by only about 12% after leftovers, sand, and poison. It's going to be up to about 80% at this point. And to believe that a Lurantis would not be carrying a stab grass move is naive, as we are going to go down to a Leaf Blade. And we're going to bring back in Recompense. But unfortunately, we are not going to be able to crit the Lurantis, and El Scizor and his Borussia Donphan will be defeating the Columbus Chew this week by a score of 4-0. Unfortunately, we take another loss, but do keep your eyes open, as we will be back next week. This is your Columbus Chew, signing out.